If you want to edit to look like the ones from top tier editors using just your smartphone, this video is for you, because I'm going to be showing you 7 powerful tricks on Alight Motion that is going to level up your edits. Some of these tricks are simple, but you probably don't know you can achieve them using your smartphone. Some of what we are going to be covering is the move along the paths, the timeline animation, the 3D object, the shatter effect, shape morphing, drag and drop animation, and the flip layer. So now let's start from number 1. Alright guys, so we're going to be starting with the move along the path effect. Start by taking a vector drawing and just make a shape. So I'm going to be making this shape. So I'm going to use this to smoothen the edges. Yeah. So I'll go to the color. I'll change it to this. I'll click on this sign here so it doesn't have any color. So I'll go to the border, activate the stroke, then increase the thickness to whatever I want. So I'm going to be adding a shape. Let me add this. So I'm just going to add this effect. Search for move along the paths. Move along the path, yeah. As you can see, if I increase the progress, you can see it's moving along it. So I can just add keyframe here to animate it. You can see that. Alright, so let's move to the second animation. So for the second animation, which is the timeline animation, we are going to be adding a text layer. Then you are going to be entering the numbers you want to animate. So let's say you choose 1990, then 2000. You are going to be putting it in this format. Then you just keep going till whatever you want. But for me, I've already copied some, which I'll just be pasting here to save time. You can see this is what it's going to look like. So I can come here, change the font. Let's use this. Increase the size, the color to black. So I'm just gonna center it here and just add a keyframe at the start. Then I'll go to, let's say, 2 seconds, then just drag it up like this. I'll make sure it's straight by looking at the ruler. So I have something like this at the start. So this is the result. I'm going to add a shape layer. So I'm going to expand it so that it's cover a text. Let's cover a line and the space around it. You can see something like this. So I'm going to bring this down. Then I'll click on the text and go to these 3 dots. Then click on create clipping mask. So now you can see what we have. So once you move over, you can see that the animation is now counting inside the shape. You can adjust the keyframe over here. Okay, just with the graph, you can get something smoother. Then if you want to resize it, just grab these to select them and then just expand. You can see that. So let's move on to the next animation. So the next animation is the 3D effect. So this is a flat image, and let's say I want to turn it into a 3D image. I'm going to go to the effects panel. I'm going to search for raster extrude. This one over here. So once I open it, if I go to the rotation on the y-axis, if I play around, as you can see, we already have a 3D shape. So I can further play around. Like you can observe, we have a whitish stuff when we apply this. You can see. So we can tweak any of these settings. So I'll come to this light source, then go over to the shine. You can play around it here. You can reduce the intensity of the shine to whatever you want. So it's good to leave it, just give it a small value to make it realistic. Then I can increase the depth of the 3D stuff. You can see as I'm increasing the depth is extruding more. So I'll just reduce it to something like this. Then we can keyframe any stuff here just to animate them. So what we'll be animating is the rotation. I'm going to set this to 0. I'll add a keyframe. Then I'll move to 1 second. Then just put 360 or minus 360 over here. Then this is what we have. You can see. So the next effect we are doing now is the shatter effect. So let's say I want to add a breaking effect or a shatter effect to this stuff. I'll first animate it so you can see what we can do. So let's say you just come inside like this, and I want to animate it like it should just break. So there's this stuff you are going to add. It's a green screen. So if you don't have it, don't worry, I'll leave a link in the description for you to get it. So here's it. It's a green or blue screen. So we're going to be masking this with this objects over here. So I'm going to first resize this green screen to fit the boss. So let's say the boss is here. I'll just put it like this. So I can maybe increase or reduce the speed before I mask it anyone. So let's say we have something like this. Then I'll click on the green screen, go to effects, then search for chroma key. So on this chroma key, click on the blue screen. Now you can see that it's removing it but not all. So I'm just going to set the value to 0.35. Then you can see the blue has been removed. So after removing the blue screen, I'm going to adjust this stuff to the second keyframe. It slides in here, and this is the point where it should break. So I'm going to be adjusting the mask over to this place. You can play around the speed. Then I have something like this. So I'm going to be masking this. Then I'll come to this mask icon over here, this middle one. Now the car slides in and then it breaks. You can see that. So I'm supposed to trim this off, but we can still do that here. I'm supposed to trim it off. Then to make it look realistic, I can just come over to this effect and add a fade in or out. Then I'm going to adjust the out setting to be something like this. So you can see how smooth it is. So the next animation we're going to be doing is the shape morphing. So for the shape morphing, the only shape you can use to achieve this very effectively is this rounded rectangle. This one over here, rounded rectangle. So let's say I bring in the shape now. So let's say I want to morph this shape over here. I'm going to click on it and come to this edit shape section. So once I click on this edit shape, I can add keyframe to both the size and the radius. So I'll add a keyframe here I'll go to the radius, add another keyframe, then move to 1 second or where I want the animation to end. I'm going to add another keyframe, go to the size, add another keyframe. So on the second keyframe, I'm going to be turning down the radius. You can see it's totally a circle now. So I'm going to go back, and you can see that it has now transformed into a circle. So let's say we want to take it further, go to another frame, add a keyframe on the radius, add a keyframe on the size. So something like this. Then the size, I'm going to extend it. So we have something like this. Another thing, you can see that this animation immediately it turns into cycle, is changing directly to a rectangle. So if we don't want that to happen, we can add a keyframe in between the animation. Let me undo the parts. I'm going to add a keyframe here on the size, go to the radius, add another keyframe. This indicates the start keyframes for the both features. So I'm going to go to a few frames forward, then I'm going to be adjusting the size and reduce the radius. So I have something like this. You can see there's a wait, there's a pause between the transformation. I can further smoothen it with keyframe graphs. I can continue playing with it. Let's say I add another keyframe here, another keyframe here. I go forward, add another keyframe here, radius, another keyframe. Then I want to turn it back into a square. Then something like this. You can see. So let's say I want to interchange the color as the shape is morphing. I'm going to go to the color. I'm going to come over here. So I'm going to go to the middle points where the shape transforms. This is the moment it turns into a cycle. I'm going to add a keyframe. Then I'm going to go to a few frames backward. Before it changes finish, I'll add another keyframe. Now on the second keyframe, I'll change the color to what I want. Then we can just put a red. So we have something like this. To the point it's transformed into a rectangle, I'm going to do the same. You can see that. I will do that for the last morphing. I'll repeat this process for the last one as well. Alright, let's move to the drag and drop animation. So you need two stuffs here. You need the object stats you want to drag and drop, and you need the hand come. So I'll be importing those now. Alright, so I just imported the stuffs I'll be using. So this balloon arrow as my cursor or the hand. I can't find the one I used for this intro. I don't even know, maybe I just deleted it. So I'm going to be making this one. Let me just add the shadow so it can be very visible. I'll adjust this stuff out. And I'm going to add a keyframe. I'll go to 1 second. Then I'll drag it towards this logo. Let me adjust the positioning. So then once it arrives here, I'm going to make it click. So for the click, I'll go to the scale. Then I'll add 3 keyframes. 1. Then I'll move 3 frames forward. 103, 104, 105. Then I'll add another one. 106, 107, 108. I'll add another one. Then I'll go to the middle keyframe. I'm going to reduce the size slightly, so we have something like this. So now we've achieved the sliding and click. So now we have to make the object obey, so it also has to follow the click. Now we'll go exactly under this. For the arrow, we start at 1.2 frames, so we're going to do the same for the eBay logo. I'll go to the scale, I'll add 1 and go to 1.5, add another 1.8, add another one. Then I'll go to the 0.5, reduce the size slightly, so we have something like this. So now we have to make the movements as if this stuff is dragging it. So for that, I'll be splitting the layer of the arrow. So exactly where this stuff lands here, when it stops, I'm going to be splitting it. Just want to be careful so I don't split the keyframes. So I'm going to be splitting it like this. Now I will be animating this eBay logo to come over here, but I'll have this arrow attached to it. So first of all, let's attach this arrow. I'm going to be linking it to the eBay logo. This one will split up over here. Now I'm going to add a keyframe on the eBay logo at 0.9 frames. We'll move a few frames forward, then add another keyframe, then move it forward to where we want it to be, like this. So I can add a keyframe graph to make it smoother. Then we have something like this. You can see we've achieved the drag. I think this is too fast, so I adjust the distance between the keyframes. So we have to make the drop effect and then the arrow disappears. So let's say it lands here. Now we want the arrow to drop it. We're going to be splitting the arrow as well. We'll split the arrow again. So I'm going to be unlinking this part of the arrow. I'll be unlinking this layer. I'll click on none. So I'm going to animate this arrow individually here. Now add the keyframe, extend the layer. So I have something like this. Done. So we've achieved the drag and drop effects using just a few keyframes and just a few moves. So now the last animation we're going to be doing, so let's say we have this here, and then I have some stuff like this. I'm going to be grouping these two, but if you have anything left to add, you can add before you animate the flipping layer. I'm going to be grouping these layers together. So I'll select the 3 of them, then click on group. So after that is now a single clip. So what then we're going to do is to add an effect. Search for flip layer. So yeah, so once I add this, so now I'm going to be setting the axis to 180 degree. So doing this will make me rotate it on the angle from left to right. But if you want to go for up and down, then you can set it to 90 degrees. So I'll put it on 0. Then I'll go to the start. I'll go to 1 second. Then I can put this to, well, let me go to the start and set this to 90. Then I'll go to 1 second. I'll set it at 0. So I have this. So I can further add more animations, more rotations to this layer. So I can move forward another second. Then I'm going to be adding a keyframe again on the angle. This time I can set it to 180 degree. So I have something like this. So I can make another rotation at another second. So let's do it 360. So I have something like this. So let's say I want to interchange the stuffs between the layer as it's rotating. We're going to be doing that now. So I'm going to be duplicating this layer. So I'm going to change the stuffs inside here. So let's say I want to change the color to green, to blue, anyone. Then I've got this here. Then I got this here. So I'm going to be setting it. I'm going to be changing some stuffs. So we have stuff like this. Now you can see this is showing, but we're going to be trimming it. So it depends on where you want it to show. Let me hide this icon. So this rotation comes in first, right? Now, and it rotates to the right. So we want it to show in between here. We want it to show in between here. Before this before it completes its rotation here, we want it to show. So once it gets here, once we can no longer see this stuff, we're going to be trimming this layer on top, the bread layer, because we want it to show on top at this point. So I'm going to be trimming it to the left. I'm trimming it to the left. Now I'm going to unhide it so we can see. You can see, right? You can see that it has changed seamlessly, but you observe that the stuff is upside down. You can observe that, right? So what we're going to do is just click on this group over here. Now go to the bread, go to these 3 dots, click on flip horizontally. Then let's go back. So you can see that has been fixed. Any stuff you want to change the orientation, just apply that setting. So let's say I want to change this from bread to another stuff again. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate this bread layer. Now inside the bread layer, this one on top, I'm going to edit the group to what I want it to be. Let's say I want this color to be green, this dark green. Then I'm going to be changing the food. Let me put this oats. So I'll resize it and put it accordingly. Alright, once I'm done setting it, I'm going to go back to my main timeline. So we are going to be cutting this as well. So let's look through where we want this to come in. Let's look through where we want it to come in. I'm hiding this upper layer first so that I can see the rotation. So I'll be seeing the bread layer directly. So let's say it comes like this, the bread comes in, then about to rotate again. So yeah, this is the point. So this is the point. So I'm going to be trimming this like this. I'll trim it to the left, you can see. Then I'm going to unhide it. So let's check and see. You can see that. You can see how seamless it is. So guys, that is all for this tutorials. Make sure to subscribe to my channel because this is just the beginning of our series. Going forward, I plan to roll out more tutorials. I'll see you on the next one.